Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We are excited to share the following news: Prince Andrew's shocking confession over Meghan. After King Charles cuts him off and backs Catherine. An informant said that Prince Andrew has now admitted Meghan's involvement in his scandal. Meghan is involved. King Charles acknowledges their dismissal, and Catherine assumes authority. In late October 2025, a series of impactful actions by King Charles III, together with publicly disseminated private comments ascribed to his younger brother, Prince Andrew, had significant repercussions for the British monarchy and its diverse audiences both nationally and internationally. The official revocation of Prince Andrew's remaining royal titles and privileges marked the culmination of a protracted and damaging scandal. However, the later highly publicized accusation that he attempted to implicate Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, risked initiating a new contentious chapter in the institution's contemporary history, one characterized by reformist aspirations, internal strife, and ongoing reputational peril. The actions and disclosures together served to marginalize two of the most contentious personalities within the extended royal family, while concurrently cementing and elucidating the principal position of the Prince and Princess of Wales as the appointed leaders of the Crown's future. The immediate impetus for this intense phase of activity was a decisive and public action by the monarch against his sibling. Buckingham Palace released a succinct but clear statement affirming that Prince Andrew has been divested of the last aspects of his royal status, his titles, styles, and honors, and will henceforth be regarded as a private citizen referred to as Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The practical ramifications of this decision were considerable eviction from his long-standing royal residence, the termination or substantial diminishment of state-funded protection, the forfeiture of formal patronages, ceremonial duties, and military positions that had characterized his public obligations, and the retraction of institutional backing for engagements that had previously depended on his royal status. The decision was portrayed in palace communications and to the general public as an essential measure to preserve the integrity and stature of the crown amidst enduring and detrimental connotations. The judgment arose amid heightened scrutiny over the late billionaire Jeffrey Epstein and the many probes into his social and business networks in the United States and beyond. Contemporary reports suggested heightened scrutiny from U.S. congressional investigations and other formal procedures demanding comprehensive information about people and activities associated with Epstein and his affiliates. The king's action was therefore seen not as an isolated disciplinary measure, but as an institutional reaction to a prolonged reputational crisis that had endured for many years, and in the palace's view required decisive control. Palace strategists, aware of the potential for reputational deterioration to extend beyond a scandal's epicenter, determined that prompt action was essential to mitigate collateral harm to other associates' patronages and charities linked to the crown. As the public contemplated the ramifications of Prince Andrew's official exclusion, a further and more intimate issue allegedly transpired behind closed doors. Sources acquainted with a private interview held soon after his dismissal informed media that a disgruntled Andrew had made explicit provocative accusations against Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. In a discussion at a remote estate outside Windsor, he proposed that Meghan was not, as some narratives portrayed her, a wholly innocent person inside the social circles that had drawn investigative scrutiny. He reportedly said to a confidant, "Meghan is far from innocent. She is in the same predicament as I am, regardless of her preferences." These statements, disseminated by several media sources shortly after the confidential discussion, were seen as Andrew's effort to contextualize his decline within a wider framework of interconnected social networks. The leaked claims were promptly characterized by critics and the tabloid media as suggesting that prior to her marriage to Prince Harry, the Duchess had social connections, either direct or indirect, to the elite events and friends associated with Epstein and his affiliates. Andrew reportedly proposed that supporting materials such as papers, emails, or invitations may exist that connect her to events, gatherings, or introductions orchestrated by common associates during Meghan's tenure as a busy actor in Los Angeles and New York. The first interpretative framework used for these unsubstantiated assertions suggested that they constituted an attempt by a discredited royal to divert scrutiny from his own responsibility by fostering the perception of a double standard in the institution's treatment of members who lost popular favor. The Sussexes' reply was prompt and unequivocal. A representative for the Duchess released a statement refuting the allegations, describing them as unfounded, slanderous, and a desperate effort to divert attention from his own situation. This denial reaffirmed the publicly articulated stances the couple has upheld since relinquishing their active royal responsibilities that assaults on their character are unjustified, that conjecture regarding their lives prior to royalty has frequently been utilized as a diversionary tactic, and that such rumors were propagated by a member of the royal household whose intentions seemed resentful and self-interested. Representatives for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex underscored Meghan's enduring commitment to advocating for women and children, characterizing the claim as a nefarious attempt to reconstruct a story of shared responsibility where they said none existed. Simultaneously, sources indicated that King Charles had privately expressed the strategic reasoning for the moves that effectively relegated both his brother and his son's family to the margins of official service. In private discussions with key advisors and confidants, the king reportedly articulated that definitive actions had been implemented against Prince Andrew and before against the Sussexes at the peak of the Epstein-related controversy from 2019 to 2021. He allegedly said in private, Meghan and Andrew were expelled as the matter reached its zenith, characterizing these moves as a needed institutional purging aimed at preserving the monarchy's moral authority. For Andrew, those measures resulted in the forfeiture of patronage's military appointments and a public-facing role. For Harry and Meghan, the consequence was the negotiated Megxit arrangement, commonly recognized as the 2020 Accord, in which they surrendered their HRH titles and withdrew from the responsibilities of senior working royals. The king reportedly articulated a distinct progressive vision for the monarchy, focusing on his eldest son, Prince William, and William's wife, Catherine, the Princess of Wales. The king reportedly stated in a private meeting with senior palace officials that revoking Meghan and Andrew's titles was the appropriate decision, expressing full confidence in Catherine and William, whose judgment he deemed sound and loyalty unquestionable. This explicit endorsement served not merely as symbolic commendation, it indicated a substantial transfer of operational authority to the Waleses, who were characterized by certain insiders as being bestowed with ultimate power to influence the institution's daily functions and long-term strategic trajectory. Observers have remarked that the sovereign's confident rhetoric significantly influences the quasi-constitutional government of the family, despite official powers being limited by convention. The deliberate elevation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was a significant turning point in King Charles's reign, which has transpired amidst his own health adversities, including continued cancer treatment since early 2024. The decision to centralize authority within a more unified group aligns with the sovereign's enduring support for a streamlined monarchy, which envisions a reduced number of active royals fulfilling the essential constitutional, representational, and charitable duties of the crown. The palace argued that a more limited institutional presence diminishes the risk of reputational harm from marginal individuals, while allowing the core of the family to present a cohesive, robust, and contemporary identity. This method effectively mitigates economic constraints. A reduced number of working royals facilitates a more concentrated distribution of public funding, security resources, and staff assistance, all of which have been subjects of public discourse in recent years. Prince Andrew's descent from esteemed naval commander, and by general consensus a favored son of the late Queen Elizabeth II, to a pariah within his own family, was gradual, tumultuous, and very public. For decades, Andrew had significant respect, due to his outstanding naval career in the Royal Navy and a series of charity patronages that bolstered his public image as a dedicated public worker. His affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, however, progressively undermined those credentials. Epstein, a convicted sex offender who died in custody in 2019, was recognized for his associations with a global network of affluent and powerful individuals. an aggregation of unsealed court documents, photographs, and witness testimonies over several years, has culminated in a compelling public record of his connections with elite circles. Despite Prince Andrew's persistent and vehement denials of misconduct, particularly highlighted by his widely condemned 2019 BBC Newsnight interview, where his defense of his associations with Epstein and assertions regarding his personal circumstances were deemed by numerous commentators to lack credibility, the allegations continued to persist and escalate. The most significant judicial event in this context was the civil lawsuit filed in the United States by Virginia Giuffre, who claimed she was trafficked by Epstein and coerced into sexual encounters, including those purportedly involving the prince. In 2022, Andrew resolved that legal action for an estimated amount of about $12 million. While the settlement did not signify an admission of culpability, it was widely seen by pundits, legal experts, and segments of the public as a strategy to avoid the reputational disaster of a contentious trial and the subsequent revelation of further potentially detrimental information. For King Charles, who ascended to the throne in late 2022, Andrew's situation presented a structural and existential challenge for the kingdom. Initially, a measure of caution was observed. Andrew maintained some formal privileges, despite calls from critics for more decisive action. However, when the legal, journalistic, and political pressures persisted, the king's position became more resolute. Prince William reportedly played a significant role in advocating for stricter regulations, seeing the scandal as a direct danger to the monarchy's reputation among younger and more skeptical demographics. In that view, the October 2025 revocation of titles seemed less like an impulsive action and more like the climax of an extended institutional process aimed at eliminating a persistent source of scandalous exposure. The pattern mirrored other instances in the family's history when reputational risk necessitated challenging decisions. Yet in this case, the interplay of litigation, international media monitoring, and public sentiment generated distinct pressure points. In light of that personal history, Andrew's alleged attempt to integrate Meghan into his discredited social circles might be seen as an endeavor to create a narrative of mutual exclusion. Deprived of his prestige voice and official role, he purportedly attempted to imply that his downfall and the Sussexes' negotiated exile were interconnected phenomena. He reportedly derided, "She's portrayed as the victim, but we've both been ostracized." Whether driven by malice, mere resentment, or an intent to complicate public perceptions, the alleged remarks threatened to exacerbate intra-family tensions already strained by years of public controversy. Insiders expressed concern that private conflicts, if disclosed or disseminated in the media, may jeopardize the unity that the king and the Waleses sought to portray. The allegations against Meghan Markle elicited heightened examination by some media factions and sectors of the public of her pre-royal existence in the entertainment sector. Meghan, a native of Los Angeles, and formally educated in acting, dedicated over 20 years to maneuvering through the interconnected social and professional spheres of cinema and television before attaining significant acclaim for her performance in the courtroom drama Suits. Throughout that period, she participated in several industry events, charity galas, premieres, and networking gatherings typical of an actor's profession. Such events often attract a diverse assembly of creative workers, philanthropists, and bankers. Epstein and his partner Ghislaine Maxwell were recognized for cultivating connections within a similarly expansive elite sphere. It is essential to emphasize that no documented or testimonial evidence has emerged to demonstrate that Meghan was included in Epstein's address books or was implicated in any of his illicit actions. Andrew's purported assertion, as published, was based on the concept of social overlap, the potential for mutual friends to facilitate concurrent participation at certain public or semi-public events. He allegedly said that casual closeness at a gallery opening or a New York social event may be seen as a tighter relationship than what really occurred. Legal observers acquainted with the discovery process in litigation concerning Epstein's estate remarked that attorneys frequently endeavor to interview a diverse array of individuals who circulated within analogous social circles. The mere act of pinpointing such persons for interrogation does not inherently imply culpability or a significant connection to criminal activity. Meghan's supporters highlighted her history of public service and advocacy, particularly her role with the United Nations, as an advocate for political participation and leadership for women, along with her extensive efforts promoting gender equality as proof of her ongoing commitment to anti-exploitation initiatives. They said that efforts to imply an inappropriate connection between her and Epstein's affiliates were both unfounded and irrational, considering her stated attitude and the established nature of her initiatives. To numerous observers, the timing and tone of Andrews' purported allegations appeared less as a revelation of evidence and more as an act of retribution, an attempt to discredit a woman who, alongside her husband, had been vocally critical of the royal family and the institutional practices that the Sussexes characterized as oppressive and at times discriminatory. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have opted to reside in California while nurturing their two children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, and managing the Archewell Foundation along with many media enterprises. The pair has tried to manage their story via interviews, production agreements, and charity endeavors within their transatlantic lifestyle. In response to Andrews' allegations, Prince Harry reportedly characterized them as defamatory drivel, a clear rejection that exacerbated the existing divide between family members residing in California and those in Britain, doing formal royal responsibilities. The escalation of private conflicts over global media platforms with the Sussexes' prominent media endeavors has created a peculiar feedback cycle where each occurrence is both a personal affront and a public narrative. Simultaneously, King Charles's explicit and public support of William and Catherine has prompted a realignment of institutional power within the House of Windsor. Since their marriage in 2011, the Prince and Princess of Wales have consistently developed a public persona based on responsibility, familial stability, and controlled accessibility. Their strategy integrating evident dedication to philanthropic endeavors, a careful management of private family affairs, and a measured interaction with the media has garnered widespread popular support and is seen by palace strategists as providing the monarchy a viable avenue for generational revitalization. Catherine, born in 1982 and formerly known as Kate Middleton, has recently cultivated a public persona and policy emphasis that extend beyond the conventional ceremonial duties of a consort. Her Shaping Us program, focusing on early childhood development, has been shown as indicative of a long-term policy-driven strategy in her public endeavors. The princess's personal experience with incessant tabloid scrutiny has shaped her work for mental health resources, media accountability, and the welfare of children in the public sphere. With the king's unequivocal endorsement, she has been promoted not just to the position of consort, but also to that of chief strategic advisor on issues related to family welfare, public engagement, and the monarchy's image. As the heir apparent, Prince William has adopted a more statesman-like demeanor. His premier environmental effort, the Earthshot Prize, has established him as a globally recognized authority on climate matters, reflecting themes long advocated by his father. He has advocated for projects targeting homelessness and social marginalization, such as the Homewards Project, while cultivating a public presence that combines solemnity with practical policy involvement. Following the family's recent health challenges and the upheaval caused by Andrew and the Sussexes, William has consistently been portrayed as a symbol of stability and fortitude. The king's delegation of decision-making power, whether official or informal, has given William and Catherine a vital coordinating role to advise on royal finances, to sanction public-facing initiatives, and to guide the overarching agenda of philanthropic and constitutional engagement. The practical ramifications of the ultimate authority are substantial, even when limited by constitutional standards. The Waleses have been granted primary influence over succession planning, distribution of limited royal resources, and the oversight of media relations that influence popular impressions of the monarchy. In July 2025, the uncommon privilege granted to them to issue their own royal warrants honors bestowed upon tradespeople and service providers, signifying the patronage of a royal household member, was broadly perceived in palace circles as a symbolic and functional indicator of their enhanced status. It indicated both an enhancement of their representational ability and the empowering of a select number of senior royals to function as the operational nucleus of the organization. The public's response to the events of late 2025 was diverse but enlightening. The decision to revoke Prince Andrew's titles garnered significant support in opinion polls conducted in the United Kingdom, with strong majorities endorsing the king's move as a vital demonstration of responsibility. The initiative was also endorsed by other observers globally, including some legislators and pundits in the United States, advocating for more openness about Epstein's contacts and networks. The notable degree of domestic support indicated in part a widespread public need for transparent institutional solutions to ongoing crises, highlighting the political significance of reputational management for the Crown. Responses to Andrew's alleged accusations against Meghan were more widely varied. Commentary on social media platforms diverged significantly. Some users condemned the reported remarks as misogynistic and opportunistic. Others advocated for caution, stressing that unverified private statements should not be equated with substantive evidence, while still others leveraged the narrative as additional evidence of a purportedly fractured family. Tabloid headlines leaned towards sensationalism, suggesting themes of royal betrayal and personal animosity, while broadsheet coverage provided a more measured perspective, putting the episode within a broader discourse on palace reform and reputational risk management. The episode underscored the divergent editorial standards and commercial motivations prevalent in various media ecosystems. Tabloids prioritized scandal and celebrity broadsheets focused on governance and institutional ramifications, while broadcast outlets managed the dichotomy by integrating breaking news with expert discussions. The disparity in popular opinion across the Atlantic was notably evident. In the United States, where the Duchess has fostered a more favorable public image, the claims seem to have less detrimental impact. Following a series of honest interviews done by Meghan in November 2025, in which she commented on personal development, family life in Montecito, and her humanitarian interests, her popularity ratings in certain American polls saw an increase. The transatlantic discrepancy underscores the intricate cultural and media landscape in which the contemporary monarchy operates. Various audiences see identical events via unique national perspectives, resulting in disparate political and social responses. It also highlights the monarchy's waning ability to manage narratives in an era of globalized media, a subject that resonates significantly in one jurisdiction may be rather trivial in another. The October incident inside the palace expedited existing initiatives to modify internal norms and professionalize assistance for working royals. William and Catherine were said to be conducting evaluations of family governance, focusing on openness, defined accountability, and improved strategies for addressing media and reputational problems. Discussions occurred regarding the potential involvement of lesser-known extended family members in support roles. Individuals like Lady Louise Windsor and other younger royals were occasionally cited as possible contributors to a restructured, more efficient monarchy, although the exact arrangement of roles was still being formulated and remained under continuous review. The assessments addressed the realities of staff responsibilities, security assignments, travel procedures, and the contractual agreements governing the interactions between patrons, charities, and the royal household. The operational adjustments aimed to rectify many persistent weaknesses. The intertwining of private contacts and public positions has consistently subjected the Crown to reputational spillover. Casual friendships, business connections, and social invites, once just social capital, have transformed into conduits for scandal. Secondly, the ambiguous mechanisms governing the allocation and endorsement of patronages have rendered certain organizations apprehensive regarding the enduring reliability of their royal benefactors. The establishment of more transparent contractual frameworks and performance expectations was proposed as a means to re-establish trust among partner charities and corporate donors. The administration of security and taxpayer-funded assistance for extended family members has emerged as a politically contentious issue. Amending eligibility and transparency regulations was deemed essential to balance public accountability with the practical needs of safeguarding individuals engaged in official responsibilities. As this era concluded, the palace aimed to convey a story of institutional rejuvenation. The Wales' collaborative public engagements in the fall and winter of 2025, culminating in a prominent appearance at a significant charitable event, were orchestrated to convey a feeling of continuity and stability. Their joint presence at the 2025 Royal Variety Performance, their first red carpet involvement in 2 years, was widely seen by analysts as symbolic, a deliberate exhibition of solidarity and the representation of a consistent generational leadership. These meticulously orchestrated appearances were integral to a comprehensive communication strategy aimed at reassuring the public that the monarchy remained operational relevant and responsive to modern issues. Shadows of the past lingered. Due to legislative and investigatory pressures in the U.S., prosecutors and congressional committees received more requests from various groups to produce Epstein files under anticipated openness standards. The monarchy was still at risk from new discoveries, even if they were minor, since peripheral accusations often re-emerge in public discourse and become politicized. Civil lawsuits, archival releases, and foreign-mandated collaboration showed that reputational risk management extends beyond local audiences. In addition to legal and media repercussions, the October 2025 verdicts affected the Crown's relationships with partner organizations, charities, and Commonwealth governments. While awaiting patronage agreement confirmation, some groups halted or re-evaluated their ties. Funders and business partners watched closely, wary of reputational harm. Commonwealth leaders, who are normally reluctant to discuss royal family concerns, watched the restructuring of roles closely, since senior representation may affect ceremonial calendars, state visits, and the monarchy's soft power in various areas. Analysts have suggested that familial discord and scandal may influence constitutional discussions in Commonwealth nations, with Republican sentiments which the palace sought to refute by demonstrating renewed public service and optimized responsibilities. Constitutional academics and former senior officials have debated the sovereign's jurisdiction in family concerns having public implications. Conventions, symbolic legitimacy, and public trust determine the monarchy's standing more than political power. The Crown may remove a senior royal's titles, although this involves questions of fairness precedent and the necessity for specific institutional restrictions. Critics called for a codified code of conduct for working royals, including expectations, ramifications, and review processes to reduce ad hoc decision-making and the appearance of unfair punishments. Some feared that excessive formalization of family administration would strip the institution of its discretionary flexibility to adapt to changing situations. The Crown's late 2025 decisions and declarations were both urgent crisis management and strategic realignment. The removal of Prince Andrew's titles and privileges was part of a larger reform of the monarchy's institutions. By confirming the Sussexes' marginalization, authorizing William and Catherine's increased operational duties, and committing to a smaller, stronger royal household, King Charles III avoided reputational concerns and promoted modernized government. The Waleses, now crucial to the Crown's future, must turn this recalibration into public confidence. They must build a strong institution that can withstand media criticism, health crises, legal issues, and family discord while maintaining the monarchy's ceremonial and constitutional functions. More transparency regarding royal resource allocation, systematic patronage and public engagement, and a narrative that stresses service relevance and empathy are practical approaches. The Waleses must negotiate transatlantic public opinion. Meghan may be better accepted in the U.S., but the monarchy's home image depends on British expectations of responsibility and integrity. Whether October 2025 marks the start of lasting rejuvenation or a temporary readjustment is unknown. After overcoming the crisis, the House of Windsor must turn temporary damage control into long-term institutional transformation. The redesign must accommodate human leadership restrictions, constitutional norms, current audience expectations, and legal and media disclosure erraticness. The world watches to see whether the late 2025 purge will strengthen the Crown for the coming century or show fresh cracks in a family and institution still navigating a rapidly shifting modern terrain. An informant said Prince Andrew now admitted that Meghan was involved in his scandal. Meghan is involved. King Charles confirms their removal and Catherine takes over. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.